Hello people, this is New Sensei. As many of you know by now, I am primarily, though not exclusively, a win-and-win shooter. I've had the chance to use several top-end win-and-win bows and their designs are excellent. I've had quite a few requests to cover some of the more recent models like the WeArWiz Nanomax or the TFT or the NS and other various letters, but today I'm going to do a bit of a throwback to a relatively new model, but one that has been discontinued. We're looking at the Win&Win AL1. At the time of its release, the AL1 was Win&Win's top aluminium bow, promoted on the basis of the reliability and feel of a metal design. For those who prefer metal over carbon, the AL1 is a unique design made from forged aluminium. The crisscross pattern gives the riser significant structural stability and reduces the torque on the riser, while also reducing weight. The AL1 comes with the standard components of Win&Win bows, the ILF limb pocket with horizontal pocket adjustment, bushings for stabilizers for top, middle and bottom, as well as the bushing at the bottom of the grip, which was introduced after the Inno Max. Compared to certain other Win&Win bows like the Inno series, the grip on the AL1 feels a bit narrower. It's comfortable, but not quite the same as the Inno series. Notably, it feels a lot lighter than it actually is, thanks to the sturdiness and balance of the aluminium design. This is surprising to me. I expected this bow to be a little heavier, but the AL1 is very well balanced. It doesn't feel like you're holding a big hunk of metal, and this really sets it apart from other low-end aluminium bows. And for those who are wondering why there's such a big price difference between the entry-level Sebastian flute bows or the low-end Samick bows compared to the high-end Win&Win bows, well, even though it's not a carbon bow, it does feel surprisingly light. It is very much a well-balanced riser. As I noted earlier, it doesn't have a very big top-heavy bias. That's without any extra weights. It feels easily controllable, and honestly, it feels like I'm holding something more like an SF Forge Plus rather than a Win&Win bow. That does make sense considering that SF is or was manufactured by Win&Win. On that note, the grip looks and feels more like an SF grip. It might just be me, but the Win&Win grips, and this is the Inno Max, they do feel a little wider. It's very subtle. It may only be an extra millimeter or so of thickness, but these grips do feel slightly chunkier, which is good. I do like a nice feel. I have small hands or medium hands. I do like a nice largish grip on these risers. The AL1 seems to have a slightly narrow grip. My impression just holding the riser by itself is that the AL1 is a rather delicate aluminium bow, and that's something you don't normally attach to an aluminium riser. So let's set this up for some barebow shooting. So here we have the AL1 in a somewhat barebow configuration. I have SF Axiom limbs, 24 pound I believe. This is going to be weird. This is not my bow. It's 70 inches long. It's going to be much lighter than what I normally use. I'll be using my Eastern ACE 720 spine. Again, these will be way too stiff for this particular bow, so I'm not going to try to do any pinpoint long range shooting. I'll just be standing a few meters away, just get a feel for how the bow handles. So we'll do that. I'm also going to be doing something a little different. I normally shoot instinctive for this short distance, but today I'll be doing a bit of string walking. So let's see how it works. Now, a lot of people ask me about aiming methods without using a sight, and I will eventually cover this. I'm not a barebow shooter, so don't expect me to be an expert at this, but I do know the techniques they use, and I'll eventually get a hang of them myself one day. The idea of string walking is that you kind of space out a position on the string with your finger tab, so you know that each elevation requires a certain point on the string that you pull back on. You keep a static anchor point, you place the arrow tip on target at a certain reference point, and that's basically your sight when you string walk. As with most aiming techniques, it's going to be more consistent than pure instinctive. Some consider it cheating, but this is a method for barebow shooting. I mean, I'm not particularly good at it, but you know, it's worth practicing. I don't anticipate I'll be using it in any of my forms of shooting. That doesn't hurt. Should be around there. There we go, that's right in the middle. Of course it's very stiff, so it's kind of angling towards the far left. But I seem to be on point with my height, so let's go around there. Yep, that's very consistent. Of course I'm not shooting particularly well. Haven't shot for a while personally, but okay, let's try something a little different. What I noticed with the AL1 without any weights is that it's just really well balanced. You've probably seen my other bow reviews where the bow basically tips backwards and knocks me out. But the AL1 sits really nicely where it is. There's very little tip. This is the barebow shooter's dilemma. Like a good heavy bow would normally swing backwards and just conk you on the head, whereas this one just sits really nicely in the hand. There really isn't a need for me to feel like I'm pulling it downwards. So it's actually a really nice setup. Considering that this is a very light draw weight, I've noticed that a lot of the other bows tend to vibrate a lot more, whereas this one has a very solid punch to it, even with a low draw weight. And that indicates to me that the vibrations are very well controlled. And imagine shooting a heavier draw weight, there'll be a much more solid amount of feedback, and you will just punch it out. I mean, I feel this is a very good high performance riser. And this was wonderful. It's taken a bit of time to get used to it, but I feel there's a lot of good feedback. And imagine the high-end competitive aluminium risers, like the Hoyt GMX for example, would feel very similar. And again, I'm not used to this bow, but it feels really sweet. It's bad anchor, but the shot came out nicely. Yeah, actually, you know, my first impressions of the bow are surprisingly smooth. It doesn't really feel like a typical aluminium bow. It feels a lot lighter. The balance, even in barebow, it feels light. I mean, you can see with all the slots cut out, it's got to be light. But this is a quality riser. It does feel smooth. The vibrations are dampened really nicely. And oh man, this is a pleasure to shoot. Alright, here we go. So I've got my full stabilizers on as well as my sight. My first impression is that it feels a bit too front heavy. I know my stabilizers are configured for my bow. This one I feel has a different center of balance, so this isn't optimal, but like I said before, the riser alone is quite well balanced. So obviously adding the incorrect length stabilizer will mess it up, but we'll see how it goes. I will be using the side, of course, but I won't be using the clicker. Of course, this is not set to my length, so where is it? No, it's not. So I'll shoot without the clicker, so this might be a little weird, but we'll see how this works. Alright. Haven't done this for a while, bit of a play on the site mount, but for the purpose of this test, should be alright. Okay, it's been a while. Okay, I'm impressed. It feels and sounds a little weird because I'm really not used to using a 24-pound bow. It's been a long time, and it sounds a little funny. It sounds like a fart to me, but the vibration is non-existent. Again, with the light bow, I don't expect to be a lot of hand shock, but there's really none. The riser absorbs everything. There's a lot of control, and of course the stabilizers. I mean, it's also overkill. I mean, there's nearly too much control. My only gripe so far on the first 4 shots is that, again, my stabilizers aren't configured right for this bow, so it feels a little too front heavy now. But that's not a fault of the riser. I mean, at the moment, the riser sounds and feels really good. I mean, my arrows, despite being poorly matched, they're coming out quite nicely with the full setup. I'm shooting a little weird. I don't have the clicker on, and the angle of the string is different. Because I shoot a 68-inch bow. This is 70 inches, so it's a little different. It feels. If anyone who shoots Olympic freestyle, the removal of the clicker feels the weirdest. I mean, you can probably shoot without a sight and you'd be fine, but remove the clicker, it feels like you're being naked. Oh, it's nice. That is nice. That is a lot of good feedback. Again, there's very little vibration, and you've seen some of my light bow demonstrations where the sheer weight of the riser keeps the vibrations in check, but this is a light riser, but it doesn't sacrifice any of that vibration dampening. Alright, let's do another one. I'm losing light, but this is actually quite fun. You get the feeling where you're sitting in a nice sports car. I mean, you have vehicles which do the job, right? That's kind of like the mid-range aluminium bows, like the Sebastian Foot bows. But then you have the really high-end bows, which perform so nice, and you want to use them. That's the feeling I have right now. Now, I wish I was shooting a little better. I'm out of practice, and again, it just feels weird without my own equipment, but it's giving me a very good impression. I'm actually really happy with how this bow handles. It actually comes out really nicely. I think that extra inch of anchoring low is making a big difference on the dynamic spine. That's a little off, but that's my fault. And again, haven't shot Olympic recurve for around 4 months and counting. But that's a really satisfying shot. I mean, having using carbon for most of my career, I like the carbon speed and punch, but the aluminium just feels so solid and reliable as well. It sits nice in the hand. It doesn't shift its weight when you pull it back. And on release, it's just so swift. And again, this is a light draw weight. If I use my 40-pound limbs, which are a different length, I'd imagine this would be so controllable. I'm pretty happy with this. If I bought this myself, I should be really happy. Yeah, this is a satisfying feeling. And again, I wish I was shooting a little better. I'm way out of practice, but I am really surprised at how smooth and delicate the AL1 feels. Again, it's an aluminium bow, and when you're used to shooting low end to mid end aluminium risers, you tend to notice that they feel very heavy. The vibrations can be a little out of check, but they tend to be quite chunky, which is why they're often preferred by mid-level shooters. But as a top-end forged aluminium bow or riser, the AL1 really is a performer. It's the sort of thing which is really hard to explain without you actually feeling for yourself. But every shot felt like it wasn't there. You know, you can see the arrow come out, and you don't feel a lot of recoil. There shouldn't be, but like some bows do kick or punch. There is a bit of punch in certain risers, but this one feels extremely sturdy. It doesn't move, and I imagine this is going to be quite useful whether you shoot Barebow or Olympic freestyle. So my impressions as of now, I'm actually really impressed. I mean, I did like the mid-range SF bows, but this truly is a level above for a reason. So my verdict on the Win&Win AL1, this is quite a nice bow. It's a very expensive bow, or riser I should say, but it's worth it. This is the example of high performance, top level aluminium. Light and delicate, but at the same time sturdy, and giving you the right amount of feedback. And that's something which a lot of people like aluminium bows for. It absorbs everything, and you keep full control of the bow. And that may be the tilt factor between getting carbon or getting aluminium. Between this and the mid-range of aluminium bows like the SF, or now the Winners, Forge Plus and so on, this is definitely a cut above. It's and obviously a cut above in cost, but in terms of handling, the Forge Plus does not compare to this. This has advantages which the Forge Plus does not have. And a lot of it's subjective. It's really hard to explain without you holding it. But shooting this gave me a very big level of satisfaction. I think this is a direct competitor to the Hoyt GMX. And we go back a few years here, back when the Hoyt GMX was the premier bow for Hoyt. Now there are obviously new designs, and Win&Win have made new designs for their aluminium bows. But this is, this was a good riser. It wasn't very common. I didn't know many people who had one, but those who have, I'd say you probably agree with me. This is a sweet bow to use. Now, the AL1 is no longer available, or it's no longer manufactured. It has been replaced by the Win&Win ATF. It's very similar to this bow, different look in terms of its shapes, but that's functionally the successor to the AL1. I haven't used the ATF personally, but I imagine that if the AL1 is an excellent riser, I'm using it here right now, the ATF would be very similar. You can still find this stocked in certain shops, or you might find it used, but I do know some stores still have this in stock, and it's lying around a shelf somewhere. If you can get one for a good price, then it's a very, very good bow. I would recommend this for mid-level to advanced shooters. The price tag is what will slow you down a bit, but the price tag does reflect the quality and the finish and the feedback you get when shooting it. Anyway, this is New Sensei. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.